All right. Good evening. It's Friday once again. I'd like to welcome everybody to the man cave for our Friday night thing that we do here. We got brother Jeff and my better half who's running the show from the background. Tanya's with us. Good evening, everybody. And we're gonna have a drink. Let me know where you're calling from. If you're having a drink with us tonight, let's see here. We got Ryan in there. Ryan, good to have you with us. I think Ryan's down in Alabama. Luke's up in Michigan. And Jeff, you having a drink with us tonight?
Absolutely.
I think I saw Tanya sipping on something up there. Tanya, what are you having?
A birthday drink.
Just a standard cup of coffee tonight.
Oh boy, I'm gonna get into this Henry McKenna. Uh, I'm getting low on that bottle. I'm trying to get that one on out of here. So we're gonna have a finger or three of that. That'll work out about right. Hank, Peter, glad y'all could make it in here. So, oh boy, Andy's here. Good deal. Cheers, everybody. It is Friday. This Henry McKenna, this is not bad bourbon. It's really not. It's bottled in bond, so it's 100 proof. This stuff right here won some award that made it quite popular and quite hard to get. And I bought a bottle as I stumbled across it, and it's decent, but it's not one that I'll buy again. It wasn't that expensive. I think I paid $39 for that bottle, and that's very reasonably priced in my mind. So, Alan, glad you could make it in with us tonight as well.
Alan.
Yeah, Tanya can speak that language with you.
Yeah.
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 Janice is with us. Good deal. Janice, glad you could make it in. Fran Glazer is with us tonight. Good deal. Langley, British Columbia.
They're up to their eyeballs in snow right now, I think.
Yeah. Frank likes the Henry McKenna. Good deal. Awesome.
And Ryan is indeed in Alabama.
Yeah. Ryan just moved down that way. He relocated. I don't know if he started in Alabama and moved into Alabama, or if he moved from somewhere else to Alabama recently, but he's
moved from Georgia to Alabama.
Did he? Okay, yeah.
Well, he hasn't officially completed the move. He's bought
working
the house,
on it.
he's closed on the house, and
Has he moved his grill? If he hasn't moved his grill, he hasn't moved
that
yet.
he finally got the Big Joe 3 moved down to the coast.
Cool.
John Gianetti's with us. Good deal. Glad you could make it. We got a good crowd here tonight. Mike's from Thief River Falls, Minnesota. I don't know where that is in Minnesota, but I guarantee you it's cold up there. Honorog's with us. I've only been to Minnesota twice. A previous job that I worked, I went to now I'm blanking out on the town I went to in Minnesota. It's where the Mayo Clinic is. What's that town called? But anyway, I did some work up there for a guy that drag races snowmobiles, and I was up there in February, and it was blistering cold the whole time I was there.
That's why they call it Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah, it was bad cold. Chris is having some Four Roses. Nice. Okay, Andrew's having an old fashioned with Sazerac. We're gonna do something fun with some a bourbon one night here coming up. I have some inside information on a new product line that Atlanta Grill Company's carrying that we're gonna get out when I can get it here. We're gonna play with it, and I can tell you they have it already, but they haven't gotten approval or permission for them to sell it online yet. So that's coming. So we'll talk about that. Alan, Alan's in Thailand.
In
Okay.
Thailand this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alan, what time is it where you are right now? I don't know if Thailand might be in a similar time zone to Australia, to the Australians. So Phoenix, good deal. Huzaifa's in there with us from California. Huzaifa, I got a couple of pictures you might want to see here coming up in a little bit. I pulled that ribeye out of that whole ribeye out, took a couple pictures of it yesterday. The one that's riding in our steak locker. So yeah, we got a good crowd here tonight. That's excellent.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, Ryan, if you're going to Atlanta Grill Company next year or next weekend, make sure to talk to Jason about the new smoking stuff they have for bourbon. They got a whole display of it. You're going to want to pick that up. So we're going to have some smoked drinks, some smoked bourbon, some smoked glasses. There's a really neat, inexpensive tool they have now that I can't wait to get my hands on. I saw it when I was down there last week, but I'm not going to play with that until they're available to buy online. It would be pointless for me to show it to you if you can't go out there and get it yet. So, yep, Jody, they don't waste any time. Gary is on the ball.
Yeah, buddy.
It don't
I've
take
never
long.
actually seen like Gary not in motion.
Well,
I've thought about this. Everybody talks about how quickly they ship. I've been
they
thinking
do.
about all the times that I've seen Gary, and I've never seen him not in motion.
Most orders that you put in online at Atlanta Grill Company are going to ship the same day, unless you're really late in the day getting it ordered. And even then, sometimes it'll still ship. So, Jeff Honorog would like for you to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jeff.
Tanya, I'm going to drop you down and we'll bring you back when we get closer to the end.
All righty.
All righty. Honorog Jeff is just one of my partners in crime when it comes to grilling and whatnot in the Kamado Joe community. We've known each other for quite a while. Yeah. And Jeff's willing to come on here every week, which is awesome because it gives me somebody to talk to on screen and bounce stuff off of and get feedback from. And I have trouble finding people to come online with me, but Jeff likes to come on regularly. So that's why we have him here every week. Rochester, Mike, that's exactly where it was. And yeah, you're way on up there. So yeah, I bet it's cold.
Well, Jeff, like wet aged or dry aged better?
There's no doubt that dry aged is far superior. Wet aging is not really, I don't really consider that aging. There's some there's a little bit of tenderizing going on during that process.
What I was gonna say.
You don't get the same concentration of beef flavor in that process that you get from dry age.
Yep.
So that's the short answer to that. And my favorite cut is the ribeye.
Yep.
I'm a big fan though of, I like the New York strip almost as well, and I also like the fillets. They each have their place. They each have a different consistency and a little bit of a flavor difference. But I'm a big fan of that marbled ribeye. That's my steak, and that's the one I cook if I'm cooking for myself. I don't cook it when I'm cooking for me and my wife because Tanya doesn't like the ribeye as much. I'll usually do strips. Tanya is a big fan of the fillets, so I most often cook filet mignon when I'm cooking for both of us. John wants to know why I decided to grill those beef ribs versus smoking them. So we're going to talk about that briefly. I published an extra video this week for those of you that are wondering about that. Paul, glad you could make it with us. I published an extra video on Thursday of this week. It's a video that I had in the can. I shot this video back in August, actually, near the end of August, and I've been sitting on it a while. I shot a whole bunch of videos in a 2-week period in August so I could have some of what I wanted to get done during the holiday season done in advance, where I wasn't having to shoot as much video through the holiday season. So those beef ribs, those were the Porter Road They call them Texas short ribs, and they're really thick and meaty, as you saw in the video. Why I decided to grill those instead of smoke them is because I've smoked these things over and over again. I've done several videos, and a friend of mine told me, he says, why don't you cook them like a steak? And I said, well, they'll be too tough to eat. He says, no, they won't. He says, if you pull those things off when they're medium rare, they'll be delicious and excellent. So I took his word for it, and I did it. And you saw the results. They looked great, and they were tender. They were not tender. They were not flaky tender like you're going to get when you smoke them up to 200 degrees. Jeff, have you ever grilled a beef rib like that?
Yes.
Did you
Yes.
see my video?
Yep. It looked good.
So there's a sweet spot there. Now, one of the things I did mention in the videos, if you take that thing up to medium or past medium, it's going to be tough. You got to
once you get past that medium rare, you're lost.
Yeah, it's not edible. There's a space in there above about 135 or 145 degrees where it toughens back up, and you don't want it. If you go beyond where I went with those, you're going to have to go all the way with it. In other words, It's not something that's gonna pan out. But yeah, guys, check out that video, the grilled ribs. It was awesome, and they're delicious. And it's like prime rib on a stick, or like ribeye on a stick. You know, it's good. And Chris, yeah, I'm going to do some video content on the new PK grill real soon. I think my next video is going to include that. So that being the case, let me go ahead and show you this. Tanya and I went shopping tonight, and I grabbed this guy from Sam's Club. This is a 3¼ pound tomahawk, and this guy's about 3 inches thick. It's a monster. I'll give you some better pictures of it when I actually take it out of the package, but this is going to be next week's cooking video for Atlanta Grill Company. And at the 1st of February, or next Thursday, I'm going to have a new rub of the month that I've published with Atlanta Grill Company. Just like we did in January, we had the Georgia butts and ribs rub, and I featured that in several cooks in January. I've chosen another one that we're going to do for February, and I chose this piece of meat to start that process. I'm going to do my first video with that, and you'll see next week what the rub of the month is going to be. I'm not going to spill the beans on that tonight, but it's a very important rub in the Atlanta Grill Company line, and I'm trying to get the first 2 or 3 months of the rub of the month choice. I'm going to pick probably the 3 that I think are the most important rubs in the Atlanta Grill Company series, and then after that, I'm going to do one a month, probably just in a random order of those, and we're going to feature those in cooks. But this particular cut of meat right here is going to be a perfect way to represent February's rub of the month. So the reason I show this now is I'm going to do a reverse sear on this, because this is a perfect cut of meat to do that on. Jeff, I'm going to get the bark going at about 225 or 250, and I'm going to slow smoke that thing up to, I don't know, an internal temperature of 110, 115. Pull it off and rest it for a little bit, and then I'm going to use the new PK grill, the new Aaron Franklin PK grill, to finish that thing off. I'm going to sear it on the Franklin. That's one of the things I love about having multiple grills around here, is if in the rare cases where you get to watch me do a reverse sear, I'm going to have 2 grills going. I'm going to have one for the low temperature, and I'm going to have another one for the high. I could just as easily fire up the PK Go and do this. I could fire up the Joe Jr. I could fire up one of the classic Joes, but I want to do a bunch of cooking on this new Aaron Franklin.
Jeff Duckworth asked if you're going to use the grill grates on the PK grill.
Jeff, I missed that, so sorry about that, Jeff. Jeff's local. Jeff lives here close to me. I haven't had the opportunity to meet Jeff yet. I want to. Jeff does a lot of great cooking. Jeff also builds smokers, so I really need to get to know Jeff. Jeff, I do not have the grill grates for the PK Aaron Franklin model. I sold my PK 360 and turned it into this new Aaron Franklin model. And I let the guy that bought my 360 have the grill grates. I've got some other grill grates. I might be able to find a combination that'll work on the Franklin, but I have not bought the grill grates for that PK yet. I'm going to, and I'm also going to buy the kick-ash basket for that grill as well. I just haven't done it yet. So, but yeah, I'm gonna do a reverse sear on this, and I'm gonna I don't know when I'm gonna make this video yet. I'm probably gonna make the video on Tuesday. I've got a lot going on here on Monday. I'm not gonna be able to do a lot of cooking on Monday. What do you think, Jeff? Will you think that'll work?
I think that's going to work great. I mean, yeah, I'm just looking at the little picture of the steak cooked in the package, and I'm drooling, you know, because ribeye is a great steak. It's got a lot of flavor.
Yeah.
And I know you're gonna dry rub that thing probably the day before and let it sit
Yeah,
through. And
exactly. I'm gonna dry brine it in the fridge with the rub on it overnight. I'll probably it'll go somewhere between 12 and 24 hours. I will absolutely going to do that.
That's going to be kicking good right there.
And Frank, it is a good idea to cook a tri-tip that way. I did a video on it on the Atlanta Grill. I think it was done on the Atlanta Grill Company channel. I did a tri-tip and turned it into that. It was flaky tender. You'll have to check that out. It is worth it. In my humble opinion, I don't know that it's worth it to spend the money. I would do it at least once. Tri-tip's a little pricey. You can do the same thing with chuck, but it tastes like chuck. It doesn't taste like tri-tip. So, give it a shot. Huzaifa says, if you have only one classic, what's the best way to do a good reverse sear? I would get the classic up to 250, do your slow part of the cook. When you get it to temperature, you pull it off, wrap it in foil, and then open up your vents nice and wide on the classic and let that charcoal bed get nice and hot. I would also use the charcoal divider and only put charcoal on 1/2 for the slow part of the cook. And when you take that off, take the heat deflector off and open the vents up, that charcoal will get going rather quickly. It won't take it long to get nice and hot. Do not worry about the dome temperature. The dome temperature doesn't matter for that next part of the cook. You just need to make sure that charcoal is good and hot. It does not matter one bit what that dome thermometer says. Just when you've got a nice hot bed of coals there, throw it back on there and sear it off. It's not hard to do. Another thing you could do if you wanted to is you could have a charcoal chimney standing by with a bunch of hot, white hot charcoal in it that you could dump in there and sear off on top of it. There's a lot of ways to do it. In fact, I'm glad you mentioned that, Jeff. I think that'd be a good video, how to pull that off on a single Joe. I've done it before, but what I did, if you look up, I think they're on the Kamado Joe channel and not on the Atlanta Grill Company channel, but I've done that. And I think I did the slow smoke at a little hotter temperature. I did it up around 300 rather than 250, and that makes it even quicker to come up. So that may be a good video. And Peter, as far as pre-made versus homemade rubs, I like both. I do it both ways. Some of these pre-made rubs, the stuff like the Atlanta Grill Company rub sets or Meat Church or Killer Hogs or whoever you like, they're hard to duplicate and they're delicious. They really are. But they are pricey in the greater scheme of things. So I do it both ways. Right now, a lot of the rubs I'm using myself are homemade at the moment because I'm trying to keep the sugar down while I'm on keto. So yeah, Jody, that Atlanta brisket's good. That's something I'm going to redo here in the near future as well. I'm going to do that over again. So the next picture I got to look at tonight, Tanya and I picked up 3 pounds of bacon at Sam's Club, and I just wanted to use this photograph right here to remind you how nice it is to have a vacuum sealer. Tanya does not like opening a whole pack of bacon because she doesn't like leaving it in the refrigerator open or even in a Ziploc bag as long as it takes her to go through a whole pack of bacon. So I break these into 4 slices and put them in 6x8 vacuum sealer bags. And that 3 pounds of bacon, I think, gave me 12 packages of 4 pieces per package. And she can keep one of those in the refrigerator where it's ready to go because Tanya cooks her bacon in the microwave and it cooks very quickly. It's very good that way. No problems at all there. And she's got just the right amount. And the rest of this stays good. You don't ever have to worry about it going bad during that process. Ryan, my favorite vacuum sealer is the JVR Industries Vac 100. That's the chamber sealer that I'm using here. I love it. There's a lot of options out there, and if you don't want to buy a chamber sealer, just get a food saver. Pick out one of the food savers that you like and go with that. But I love these chamber sealers. But I just wanted to bring up another comment about this, about how much I use my vacuum sealer. This is the most used accessory in my kitchen. I went back and looked the other day to see when I bought chamber bags last. I bought chamber bags at the end of March in 2020. So I'm at what 22 months, 20 months here, something like that. About 20 months later, I had to reorder my 8x10 chamber bags. I have been through 1,000 8x10 chamber bags in less than 2 years. I have been through, it looks like about 350 10x13 bags in that same amount of time, and probably about 300 or 400 6x8 bags. I use this thing a lot. And at the volume I use this thing, the chamber sealer is actually the more economical solution in the long haul because these bags are cheap. I just got in today, in fact, or yesterday, another 1,000 8x10 bags, and that 1,000 8x10 bags cost me about $50. They're a nickel a piece. You cannot make a vacuum seal bag for a food saver for 5 cents. You're going to have a minimum of 18 to 22 cents per bag for a smaller bag, even if you're buying the no name brand bags. They're expensive. Jeff, if you don't have a vacuum sealer, do you?
Yeah, I do.
Which one do you have?
You would ask me the name. It's made in Italy, and it does a fantastic job. It's not a chamber vac. It's just it's like
just a channel vac.
It's a channel vac, but I used to have the food saver, and this thing puts the food saver to shame.
Frank, Frank's asking, what about for dry aging? The vacuum sealer doesn't have anything to do with dry aging. Unless you're using the Umai dry bags, you need a food saver style vacuum sealer to use the Umai dry bags for vacuum sealing in their bags, but you have to use their bags. You can't just use any bag to dry age. So Michael wants to know, do you sear? No, you do not sear the meat in the foil. You know the answer to that. Michael's jerking my chain here. He knows better. Mike, I've known Michael for quite a while now. I met Michael in my early days of barbecue on the Barbecue Brethren forum. No, we don't sear the meat in the foil. He knows better than that. I am thoroughly 100% against putting a steak directly on the coals. That is by far one of the worst ways you can imagine to sear a steak. I've seen it done, and it's a fad thing. You can do it. I encourage you to try it. But let me tell you something. When that meat hits that charcoal is going to immediately cool off, and it's not going to sear the same way you would get with it hovering above the fire or on a grill grate. And it's going to cook. It's going to sear unevenly, and you're going to feel great about doing it because they call it caveman style. and you're going to want to talk about it. So do it one time, and you probably won't ever want to do it again. I don't like that, and I'm not ever gonna promote that method of searing a steak. I know a lot of people like it, and Frank, I do believe my dry, it's been worth the expense to me, but worth is one of those relative terms. It's an economics thing. It's expensive. It's not cheap. Uh, uh, a good person like Jeff here could build a dry ager that would be quite efficient out of a drink cooler, using a couple of computer controllers, a humidifier, and it wouldn't be that hard to do. You could computer control a humidifier to keep your humidity where you want it, and they make all kind of controls where you can turn the compressor on and off to keep the temperature where you want it. So it's doable at a lot less expense. But I'm one of these guys, Jeff. What's my term? The really right stuff. I'm not a do-it-yourself guy, and if I was,
Mechanically handicapped.
Yes, I admit that freely and fully. That's not my
You own
jam.
that. You own that one.
Yeah, it's not my jam. So there are a lot of options, but I will tell you, for dry aging beef properly, you need to be able to control the temperature at a specific temperature range, and you need to be able to control the humidity. The two have to go together. So Brian wants to know about the fireboard. I like the Pro simply because I think the K couple probes are a little more durable than the others, but you only get 3 of them. You can only do 3 at a time. If you need 6 probes at one time, then get the Drive 2 instead of the Pro. So let's move on here. Chicken. I wanted to talk about chicken thighs. I'm going to do a video on this at some point, but I decided to do a test run on this week, and my results weren't awesome, but I want to show you what I did. I just got 4 grocery store variety chicken thighs. You can see I bought a 4-pack, and you can see that I got 2 that are about the same size and 2 that are a little smaller and a little oddly shaped. These 2 on the left look good, and the 2 on the right didn't look so good. So I wanted to do something. I'm not going to call this a competition style cook. I'm going to say that this is inspired by the way the competition cooks do this. So what I did, I got these little muffin tin, or these are little small loaf pans that I confiscated from my wife. And you put a little chicken stock in the bottom of these and a little bit of butter. And I peeled the skin back on the chicken thigh because my objective here is I wanted to season the meat, and then I wanted to go back and season the skin. In a real competition mode here, you would take that skin completely off, and then you use a really sharp knife to scrape the fat out of the inside of the skin, where that skin, you can put it back on here and it'll crisp up nicely and it'll give you a better bite through texture. But I didn't pull it all the way off because that wasn't where I was for this cook. I just wanted to bare the meat so I could season it. Also, in a competition style cook, you'd flip this guy over where you can get to the bone, and you're going to cut the knuckles off where you can really compact this up and give it a perfect shape. I didn't go to that length here either. So I seasoned the meat, and then I put the skin back over the top, dropped these guys in my tins, and then seasoned it again, where I've got seasoning under and on the skin. And I had the bark running at 300 degrees. So I tossed these guys on here and let them cook. And this first stage of the cook is where I went wrong on my test. I let these go a little longer than they needed to go in this stage. And ultimately, my chicken thighs were overcooked in the end, and I just need to tweak that process a little bit. So I let them cook, and here's what they look like when I thought I was where I wanted to be. So I pulled them out, put them on a different rack, and then at this point, I wanted to sauce them. So I basted a layer of sauce on these guys and then put them back in the smoker to let that sauce set up. And here's what I got in the end. This doesn't look very pretty. Uh, and it doesn't look very pretty because I used a sauce on it that I would be willing to eat. This is a keto-friendly barbecue sauce. When I actually do this video, I'm going to use the Atlanta Grill Company. I'm probably going to use the Atlanta Grill Company sweet sauce on it because it has a really nice, rich red burgundy color. It's going to make these guys look nice. And I also didn't glaze these again after the cook or right at the end of the cook. I just let them go. And that's what I ended up with. But that's the technique that some of these competition style cooks use. And this is kind of a variation of Myron Mixon's cupcake chicken. But Myron would have cut those knuckles off and he would have formed these things up into a nice tight ball and they'd have been perfect. And I don't remember if do you remember if Myron scrapes the skin on his, Jeff?
I've never seen him scrape the skin, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't.
Harry Sue does.
I've never seen him do it in any of his videos.
Yeah, Harry Sue does. And when I went to Harry's class, that was one of the things that he showed. And that's where I'm getting that from. And he had some cooked ready for us to eat at that class. And he had done some both ways where he had scraped the skin on some of them and not on others. And there is a remarkable difference in the two. So, but we're talking backyard barbecue here. I'm trying to promote backyard barbecue more so than competition barbecue, but there's a lot of great technique to be taken from competition cooking, and I don't want to take away from that. Yeah, Janice says she likes to do that too. I like doing that, and it's real easy to do on a thigh. It's a little more difficult. Well, you could do it on a bone-in breast if you wanted to. It's really hard to do on a leg. And I'm going to do some lollipop legs sometime too. David, glad you could make it in with us. So we're going to move on here. The next fun cook I did this week was actually not a grill cook. It's another keto recipe I've started working on this week, which is a quiche. And this recipe is going to have modification also. So I got out my favorite little cast iron serving dishes that I got for Christmas from Atlanta Grill Company. I put some crumbled bacon in the bottom. I sauteed some shallots and some diced green pepper, tossed that in there. Gruyere. I cubed up some Gruyere cheese, which is a go-to ingredient in quiche Lorraine. And then I grated on some Parmigiano Reggiano. And then I put in my custard, my egg and cream custard here to finish that off. This is where my recipe needs changing. And I'll talk about that here in just a minute. Tossed them in my trusty Breville Smart Oven. And look at these guys, man. They're off the hook. It's a perfect cook. I like this browning on the top. And in fact, I like a little more than I actually ended up with. I should have let them stay in there another minute or two. But these things were delicious in my mind. Tanya and I had these for dinner one night earlier this week. And the problem I've got here is I need to change my ingredients a little bit. This is very keto friendly. It's very low carb. Each one of these had 5 or 6 grams of carbohydrates, which is very good. But the calorie count on this is way off the hook. It's way too high. This is just north of 1,000 calories. And,
what do you expect? Heavy cream.
Well, that's just it. Tanya and I talked about that. I need to change this because Tanya made a comment. Tanya she's not a big fan of the texture I have here because of the amount of heavy cream that's in this. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to change the ratio of cream to egg, and I'm going to up the egg, and I'm going to go to half and half instead of whole or heavy cream for this, and bring the calorie count down on the total calorie count on this somewhere down to somewhere between 600 and 700 calories for the whole thing. I may also use a smaller cooking vessel for this and not make this quite as large. I've got some smaller. You guys may remember the little stainless steel all-clad pans that I have. They're smaller than this. I'll probably reduce the size and get that down. But Tanya wants it to be a little more eggy rather than a little more custardy, where it's a little firmer texture in there. So I'm going to do that next. I'm going to keep everything else the same. I'm going to firm it up by less cream, more egg. I'll change that ratio up. But man, these things were delicious. And this is something I'd eat no problem. But I don't, while I'm dieting with on a keto, this is keto friendly, no problem. But 1,000 calories at one meal is above where I want to be, even on keto. For keto, it's not just low carb. You still have to watch your calorie intake, because you can still eat more calories than you burn off in a day. And if you're still eating keto, you'll gain weight regardless. So I'm working in the my typical day on my keto plan right now is running an average of about 1,700 calories a day. Some days more, a little more, some days a little less, but that's where I am. And for anybody else that's interested, last Saturday when I weighed in, I'm 50 pounds down, and I'm real happy about that. So
Okay, John,
that's where
your wish list.
Yeah,
Atlanta Grill Company has those pans half that size.
there's an 8-ounce version of this.
Yes, there is. I got it.
The little rectangular ones.
Yep, that one right there.
I've got them. I got those for Christmas also. I just haven't used them yet.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, those I'll have to see if that's big enough. That cutting this in half. If I cut it in half with an 8-ounce server, I could probably stay with a heavy cream, but I still want to take that out. Mm-hmm. Ken and I've run the mixing grill every day. I've done a lot on that. We're gonna see a couple things here in a minute. I cooked another butt this week for myself. Every butt that I've cooked in the last 2 or 3 weeks has been for somebody, ended up going with somebody else, and my pulled pork stock is 0. So I had an 8-pounder that I cooked and made it for myself. I got, what did I say, Jeff? I got 11 packages of pork.
Yeah,
individual serving. I've got 11 meals for myself now. So I've got a little bit of pulled pork for myself. So I did that. Let's see where we are. What's coming up next? Oh, the PK300 Aaron Franklin. I seasoned that grill. I haven't actually cooked on it yet, but I lit a fire in it and put a whole bunch of wood chunks in there where I'd get a lot of smoke. And I'd basically do that to turn the inside of this thing black. And no, these things don't need to be seasoned. There's no technical reason to season these grills. It's just something I like to do. So if you're going to fuss at me for seasoning a cast aluminum grill, then go ahead. But it's something I like to do. Huzaifa, I hope Huzaifa's still with us. I pulled this big a whole ribeye out of the steak locker the other day just to make a couple photos of it to see where I am. I'm 35 days or so into this 60-day process. This thing's coming out sometime in late February. This is a kind of an overview of it, and here's an edge picture. This is exactly what this thing's supposed to look like, and I'm real happy with what I've got so far. I stuck it back in there, so late in February, I'll take it out, break it down, and I'll show you guys some more pictures of that whenever that happens.
Don't forget, Luca and I are coming for dinner that night.
Yeah, Luca won't come up here. He won't. He might. I don't know if Luca's with us tonight or not. I haven't noticed if Luca's been with us. He might be. He might be lurking in the background. But yesterday, I had to get the mix and rolling on my wife's favorite project for me, which is smoked cheez-its. And I don't remember if I know where this came from. I know I've done it before, and I've done a video a long time ago on this, but I've changed up my method from what I did originally to something that I believe has turned out a lot nicer, a lot better. What I did originally was I would lay out cheez-its on a sheet pan like this, and I would spray them with cooking spray, just to get a little bit of oil on them. I would dust these things with a ranch dressing mix and just a super fine dusting of cayenne pepper, and I'd smoke them on the pellet grill. But these, I was reading around, finding out what other people are doing with this, and I came across one that I really liked the thoughts of. So I decided to try it. And what you do here is you take these things and you toss them. I tossed them first in some Worcestershire sauce and then in some olive oil. So what you see here on these two trays is about 24 ounces of Cheez-Its. It's about two standard boxes of Cheez-Its, and I put all of those in my largest stainless steel mixing bowl, which is like an 8 or 9 quart bowl. And I put, let me see if I can remember how much I used. I used a half a cup of Worcestershire sauce in there. I put that in there, and I got a wooden spoon out and kind of gently toss that around because you don't want to break these things up any more than necessary. But I wanted to get the Worcestershire sauce coat on there first. Then I put a whole cup of extra virgin olive oil in there and tossed all that and got them coated with that. And then I put a half a cup of, let's see here. I want to show you this where you can see it. I got the Atlanta Grill Company Argentina steak, and I went through all of the Atlanta Grill Company seasonings before I did this. And let me tell you why I chose this one. I'm going to read the ingredients list off of this: black pepper, granulated garlic, kosher salt, smoked paprika, parsley, oregano, basil, and thyme. And I said, man, that is going to be beautiful on here. So I did it. Okay, my wife is a big fan of smoked Cheez-Its. She has not had this technique or this seasoning before on these. So let's get Tanya. Tanya,
Yeah.
what are your overall, I want your overall thoughts. I want you to tell everybody here exactly what you told me at dinner tonight about what you think about these.
Well, my first bite was disappointment. I'm not going to lie, because I'm used to the old smoked Cheez-Its, and that's what I had my mouth set for. But then, I took another bite, and I thought, maybe. And then I took another bite, and then half a bag later, I decided that I really liked them.
Grew on you.
They are really good. And I took a bag up to my coworkers today, and I asked them try a sample and see what they thought. And universally, they were loved. Everybody really enjoyed them. So I think I like the new method. I think I like the new flavoring.
I think you're
You
making
left,
more, John, is what she's trying to tell you.
no, you left out one comment. I want to hear it.
What was the one comment? You might have to prompt me.
You and one of your coworkers both agreed that it's a little salty.
Yeah. I, well, now, out of all of us, okay, out of all of us, two of us thought it was a tad salty. And that
That's
was just,
okay.
our thoughts.
That can be tweaked. This I could use a little less of this. I could probably get away with a quarter of a cup instead of a half a cup of this in that, because when I was talking when I gave these to Tanya last night, one of the first comments that came out of her mouth is these are herby, and that was before she knew what I put in it, and she was right on the money about it being herby, because what did I say? We've got parsley, oregano, basil, and thyme. She nailed that, and that aroma and flavor. This Argentina steak, this is very earthy. This 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 is an awesome rub to use on a prime rib. This is an incredible rub to use on a prime rib. In fact, that's going to happen when I get around to this rub on a rub of the month. I don't know which month that rub's going to come up in. Cannon says they have a low salt Cheez-It. Are you aware of those, Tanya? I've not seen them.
I've not seen them, but I've not necessarily been looking for them either.
That's one of the things. Also, Tanya and I had dinner tonight. We talked about the Cheez-Its. They have enough salt on their own. They really don't need any more salt. But between the olive oil and the Worcestershire sauce, I think it balances that out some. Worcestershire sauce is bringing even more salt, but I think the umami and the flavor that comes with the Worcestershire sauce hides some of that. So, all right, Tanya, I'm going to back you back out here for just a moment. But that's the most recent thing I did. I did that last night on the bark, and it did beautifully. I set the bark for 215, and also these went for 90 minutes. I did a 90-minute smoke at 215 to 220, and that thing was just there was a beautiful blue smoke rolling out of that thing the entire time this was going on. And the comment there about the Chex Mix, I'll do some Chex Mix. I did a video on smoked Chex Mix. I can't remember if I don't remember if it was on Kamado Joe or on Atlanta Grill Company, but there is a smoked Chex Mix video I've done out there. But this came out extremely well, and I'm going to do it. I'll probably make a video out of this at some point. And here's just another picture of the bark sitting out there. This bark, I've run it. Like I said, I've run it every day. I've run it every day that I've had it that I haven't been working. Okay, Jeff, before I start that, Janice, yes, I did. I took my fish turner out there twice. I did it at the 30-minute mark and the 60-minute mark, just to move them around a little bit to make sure all the surfaces could get some smoke. I don't know how necessary it was. That would all depend on the seasoning blend you put on there. If you put a seasoning blend on these that had sugar in it, like if I had used Georgia butts and ribs, or if I had used volcano dust or something else that had a good bit of sugar, you're going to need to do that because they might stick together. That sugar might liquefy
together.
Yeah, and cause them to stick. So yeah, it's a good idea to give those a little stir during that process. The next thing I want to talk about here is cold smoking cheese. Yeah, John, I'm not doing this directly for Atlanta Grill or for Kamado Joe anymore. A while back, I decided to kind of switch gears a little bit, and I'm doing it for Atlanta Grill Company now, which still gives me the ability to be a Kamado Joe enthusiast and a lot of other things as well. So yeah, I'm always going to be a Kamado Joe guy. I'm just, like I said, I'm not doing it directly for Kamado Joe at this time. So yeah, thanks for asking. And yeah, I'm everything's working very well. I still am one of the world's biggest advocates of Kamado Joe, and I always will be. So don't think for a minute that I don't like Kamado Joe because I'm not doing it directly for them, but we're still cooking on Kamado Joe's here too. Cold smoking cheese, Jeff. Let's talk about that. You and I, this is a good conversation for me and you because you live in a climate that's more difficult to pull this off than I do.
Yep.
There you have an even more limited time a year where you live that you can pull this off than I have here. We've had a cold spell here late December and a good part of January. We've had some really cold weather, which makes this possible. And the difficult thing about cold smoking, what's the most difficult thing, Jeff, about cold smoking cheese?
Keeping the temperature down so your cheese doesn't sweat.
What do you think the temperature is? What's the max? Where does your cheese start sweating?
Someplace between 70, a little on the upward side of 70. I think if you can keep under 70, you're pretty safe.
Yeah. 75. I've had problems between 75 and 80 degrees with the cheese sweating.
So Sunday I might get to smoke some because we're going to be in the 30s.
Yeah. You definitely want to load up on Sunday then and smoke everything you need because Yes, Cindy says in San Diego, I can imagine San Diego. I don't know how you'd pull this off. Well, actually, I do know how you'd pull it off, and I I'll talk about that here in a minute. There are cheats that you can do. The first thing that and I talked about, I made a video. I published this video on cold smoking cheese today, and like I said in the video, most of the people who are going to be watching this video are Kamado owners. The Kamado, as great as it is the absolute worst tool in the toolbox for cold smoking cheese.
Yep.
And the reason that is because they hold in heat so well. Uh, any other grill you have that's not a Kamado will work better for cold smoking cheese because it's less insulated. It won't hold the heat in as well. It'll give up heat. And in fact, if you've got a huge cardboard box, that works better than a Kamado for cold smoking cheese. Uh, Jeff built me a cold smoker, and I really was thinking about using the cold smoker Jeff built me for this video, but I decided not to. I wanted to do it in a Kamado to show you, because like I said, most of you are Kamado owners. So later, I will do a video and I will show you the cold smoker that Jeff built for me, because Jeff's got one he built for himself just like it. But let's look. First of all, these are the tools you need for cold smoking without breaking the bank. There are other options, but these are the really right tools for general cold smoking. These are the Amazing Products pellet smokers. Atlanta Grill Company sells both of these. I don't know if this one's still available. This tube, they've got tubes, but not this specific one. And then there's this Maze. I've got both of these. I actually have a third piece of Amazing Products smoker that I didn't show here because I don't use it anymore. It's a Maze as well, but it uses sawdust. It uses a dust that's it's kind of hard to get. You have to buy it directly from them. So I've gone to the solution where you just use pellets. When you're cold smoking anything but cheese, the tube is the right solution. It produces more smoke, but it doesn't produce it for as long a time. This Maze, when you load this Maze up with pellets, you fill it all the way to the edge, to the top edge. You got to load it full, and this thing will burn for about 12 hours. The tube, when you load this guy up, it actually holds more pellets than you can fit in the Maze, but it burns faster. It burns more pellets at a time, and it burns hotter. This thing will only burn for 4 hours. But this guy in a Kamado grill produces too much heat. I have not been able, even when the weather's cold, I've not been able to keep a Kamado in reasonably great temperature ranges with that guy to smoke cheese. This thing worked great when the weather's cold. So what you do with this is you load it up with pellets, and then I use my map torch. You can use either a map torch or like a culinary torch. You need a torch of some sort to light this guy. It does not light well with a butane lighter. You'll never get it going. So what I do is I'll use my torch here, and I hold this on here for a minute or a minute and a half. And what my objective is to get a visible flame going on this end of the Maze. And I didn't show the photo with the actual flame going, but once you have a visible flame here, you let that flame burn for 4 or 5 minutes. You let it keep going because it needs to burn and needs to get going. So when you decide to blow it out, it'll produce smoke and it'll keep going for a long time. So you kind of have to, during the first 30 or 45 minutes you have this thing lit, you need to watch it, because if it goes out, you need to put the torch back on it and get it going again. But once you have it going to a level where it's going for 30 or 40 minutes without any help, it's going to burn. It will burn the whole Maze. It'll go all the way around. So I set this guy down in the bottom of my Classic 3, And then I put both halves of the heat deflector in there and put the grill grates in. And then the other night I had 13 pounds of cheese. And the cheese that you see here, these blocks in the back, this is that English cheddar that they sell in about 2-pound blocks at Costco. It's a really great cheese.
Yep.
These orange ones here are a Walmart variety of extra sharp cheddar. This one behind here is a block of Swiss, and these 4 small ones are the Walmart variety of Gouda, and they do pretty well for smoking. I want to, I put these on about 8 o'clock the other night, and it was about 45 degrees outside when I put these on. So what I do, top vent fully open. In fact, I on the control tower, I just lift the top piece off where it's gone. And the bottom vent slider is fully open. And the dome lid on the Classic 3 here, I just pulled it down to where the latch touches the bottom piece of the latch. And up here in the front of the grill, I'm open about an inch. I've got a nice opening there where cool air can come into there, because if you don't, it'll get hotter than you want it to get in there. About 12 hours later, I go out. I had actually looked at it prior to this, and I was still getting smoke at 11 and a half hours. But at 12 hours, when I made this, the smoke had stopped. And as you can see, the cheese has got some color from the smoke. I was using hickory pellets on this, and it came out beautifully. And so what I did then was, I've got a picture here. I put the fireboard on so you could see exactly what was going on. This upper line here is the temperature inside the Kamado Joe. I had the ambient probe clipped to the dome thermometer inside there, and it got up to almost 60 degrees at one point here. It was, I think the fireboard said it was a 59 something. And down here on this line, this is another probe I had hanging outside the grill, so you could see what the ambient temperature outside was. It started out here at about 44 degrees, and when it got down as low as 30 outside that night. But this worked perfectly. I never got into a temperature range inside the Kamado where that cheese was going to sweat and get a liquid surface on it. That makes a huge mess, and you don't want that. I don't think the cheese is really good after it sweats like that. And then I vacuum sealed the cheese. I took each of the pieces of cheese, put it in a chamber sealer bag, and vacuum seal it. This cheese, you will not like it if you taste it right away. This cheese will not taste good. It'll taste like a dirty ashtray. Jeff, have you tasted cheese right after you've smoked it?
Yep, it tastes like a dirty ashtray. You
it's
gotta let it age.
It does not taste good at all. So if you guys decide to try this, I want you to try some cheese right after you're done smoking it. You need to taste that.
You only do it once.
Yeah, well, it's good to understand how the aging works, because you need to find out where your sweet spot is on each of the styles of cheese you've smoked. Cut off a piece of each style of cheese you smoked and taste it right after it comes off the smoker, and then vacuum seal it. If you don't have a vacuum sealer, you're okay. Wrap it as tightly as you can in saran wrap, and then put it in a Ziploc bag. That'll work. That'll let this age adequately with no problem. So the absolute minimum time, I believe, you need to let this cheese age is 7 days. Yep. That is the bare minimum. Now, personally, I like to let mine go for a minimum of 3 weeks. 3 weeks seems to be where I come out. Do you like it at 3, Jeff?
3 weeks is the sweet spot.
Well, okay, yeah, it's good, but it doesn't degrade beyond 3 weeks. I want you to taste it right after it comes off the smoker. Taste it 2 days later. Taste it 7 days later. Taste it 2 weeks later, and then taste it 3 weeks later, and then you'll be able to see how this flavor develops. It really does become really sublime the more you let it go. Yep. And also, I have opened packages of cheese that have been in my refrigerator in vacuum seal bags for a year, and it's still good. It's not very often that it lasts that long after I smoke it, but I have had some as much as a year old that's still perfectly good and it's perfectly edible. It's delicious. So if you get the opportunity to try this, definitely do it. Here's what my maize looked like after the smoke. I pulled it out, and there's just a little tiny bit here that didn't burn at the very end of that maize. So that's where we ended up. And Anurag, I don't know if smoking the cheese improves the longevity. I think it might, because smoked meats tend to have a longer shelf life or longer freezer life, longer refrigerator life. Uh, I'm not the right person to answer that question. And Daryl, yes, you do need to refrigerate it. Cheese does not live well outside the refrigerator. I can't imagine not having it refrigerated. Now that being the case, some cheeses I'm learning. I've done a little research on some cheese here lately. Some cheeses taste better when you let them come up to room temperature before you eat them. And I was reading about Emmentaler, real Swiss cheese today, and I actually bought a block of it at the grocery store this morning to try it. They recommend letting that bring it out of the refrigerator at least an hour before you're ready to eat it. And it kind of goes back to that philosophy of, would you eat a frozen pastry? A pastry, the flavor is more prominent at room temperature. And I think some of these cheeses may be the same way, especially the cheeses that dive into the nutty flavor realm. You know what I'm saying here, Jeff? The
Yep.
that nuttiness, it becomes more pronounced when you do it that way. Huzaifa, you can buy some smoked cheeses in your local grocery store if they've got a nice cheese counter. It's not hard to find smoked Gouda. I don't know what else is available smoked in the grocery stores. Jeff, do you know?
Smoked Gouda, smoked provolone. Every now and then you might find a little smoked Munster, but Gouda and provolone are probably the two most prevalent.
Uh, Huzaifa, check a Publix. My Publix has a really nice cheese rack. They've got a cheese cooler that's got some really great quality cheeses in it, and you might find some there. Uh,
Also, Fresh Market, or not Fresh
Fresh
Market, excuse me.
Market, yeah, Fresh
Whole Foods
Market.
has a
Yes, those
nice
two
cheese
places
area.
would also be a good place. Let me go back to John's comment there. I wonder, he asked something that I've never frozen cheese before. Jeff, have you frozen cheese?
No, I always keep it in the refrigerator. Matter of fact, when you said you had a package from a year ago, I have a package sitting in the refrigerator from a year ago that I keep forgetting is in there.
Well, open it up and let us know what it's like. And John, I don't know about freezing cheese. I've never done it. So if that works, that's great. I've not experienced that. Uh, I would be concerned that the cheese texture would change after it's been frozen. And the Jarlsberg Enterata, I don't know. That might be good. I've not tried it. Uh, I can't imagine. In my mind, I think most cheeses would be good to smoke at some degree. I don't know which ones are better than others. Uh, the cheeses that I have smoked personally, I have smoked Swiss. I've smoked a whole bunch of varieties of cheddar. I've smoked Gouda. I've smoked Munster. I've smoked mozzarella. Uh, I've smoked that English cheddar, like I said, that comes from Costco. That's amazing.
That's what I have in there is the English cheddar from a year ago.
Yeah,
I need to
I
pull
don't
that
know.
out.
I don't know if any cheese would be bad smoked. I have not tried smoking uh, things like goat cheese or blue cheese. I have not dove into
Well,
that
I'm
yet.
not so sure of your soft cheeses, like your Camemberts and Brie and whatnot.
Now,
Uh,
I'm pretty convinced that brie and camembert might do well, but I think those after they're smoked, I think they need to be heated and melted, get melty like you would serve those anyway. Uh,
well, that's the way I like to do the brie is put it in aluminum foil and put some type of fruit. Uh, Lingonberry is great on brie. If you get a hold of lingonberry jam, throw some
yeah,
of that on there and heat it up and let it all melt. Put that on crackers, and oh my god, that's good
but
eating.
Anurag, I don't believe. I think if there's a cheese you like, I think you should try it smoked, and I think you should try smoking it. Now, I don't want to forget to talk about this. If a Kamado is all you've got, uh, you have some cheats if you live in a climate that does not allow you to keep that cheese cold enough. It's going to require some attention. It's not going to be a set and forget. But if I lived in Jeff's climate and all I had was a Kamado, I would get a pizza pan, a deep dish pizza pan, or a cake tin or something that's about the same size as my heat deflector, and I would fill that sucker up with ice.
Yep.
And when that ice melts, I'm going to lift my grates off. I'm going to put more ice in there where I can keep it cool in there. And you can do this. You can pull this off, and ice is one way to do it, but you're going to need to, when that ice melts, like I said, you're going to need to monitor it, and you're just going to need to watch your temperature. And if you've got any kind of container that's not a Kamado, try using that instead of the Kamado. The Kamado, like I wanted to do this video on the Kamado because I know most of you guys that watch here are Kamado owners. And Jeff built me a really nice plywood uh, cold smoking chamber, and I'm going to show you guys that here at some point. I'm going to get it out. Uh, I might, Jeff. Here's what I'll do. When I do my bacon, when I do my bacon video,
Mm-hmm.
I'll cold smoke the bacon, and we'll cold smoke the bacon in your
That's
cold
what I did with
smoker.
my bacon. Threw it in
Yeah,
there and cold smoked. It came out great.
Cindy, that's a good question. This is another area where personal experience is going to have to be your guide. Uh, it it depends on what you're going to do with the cheese after you smoke it. All of the cheese that you just saw that I smoked, that's going to get sliced into slices that are approximately 1 ounce a piece because I'm going to snack on that cheese. Tanya and I like to snack on cheese because it's a really beautifully flavorful snack and it's low carb. It's mostly no carb. And when you slice it, the only piece of that block that might be too smoky is the end piece. Every other piece is only going to have a smoke on the outer edge of it. The smoke does not penetrate this. It's just like meat. It all collects on the outside. So what is not enough or too much smoke is going to be up to you. When I smoke using that tube instead of the maze, uh, I like to 4 hours is typically more than enough. If I'm using the tube and I'm using the smoker that Jeff built me, 2 to 3 hours provides me enough smoke on my cheese. But like I said, that maze holds less pellets than the tube does. So I got less pellets over a 11-hour period than I would have gotten more pellets out of a 4 hour period on the tube. So it produces a lot of smoke. It's you need to experiment with it, and if you're unsure, err on the side of not enough smoke because once again, I've said this a million times too. Smoke is a spice, and you can add too much of it, and you can't walk it back.
Can't take it back.
Yeah, and if you're going to put 13 pounds of cheese on your grill, just like I just did, you need to know whether or not you're going to have too much smoke. And I would not recommend putting 13 or 15 or 20 pounds of cheese out, not knowing whether you're going to have too much smoke. You can't
That's
have
exactly
too
what I was
little
going to
smoke.
say. Is start with
You,
one block
yeah,
and play
yeah, you
around
could
and
do
get your
that too.
flavor
You do
profile.
do
Then
one
once you get
block.
your flavor profile down, then
Yeah,
you can get a large quantity. Because whatever one tastes like, the smoke, it's pretty much going to be the same with all of them. I mean, they all take the smoke relatively, the same. So once you develop, what's your sweet spot, go for it.
And cheese is like chicken. It's like ground
Less it's
beef.
more.
It absorbs smoke like a sponge. So you have to be careful. Don't overdo it the first time you do it. Don't ruin a bunch of cheese. Don't make a bunch of cheese that you don't want to eat. Let's find Tanya. Hey Tanya.
Hey,
Tanya likes smoked cheese,
I love
right?
cheese.
And Tanya, I don't know. I wish Luca was here actually because Luca is the one who turned me on to this English cheddar that they sell down at Costco.
Yeah.
That cheese is amazing, and
It
it's
is
not
Yes, it is.
fantastic.
that 2 pound block is $7 or $8. It's not expensive at all.
No.
Oh
And
man,
it's so good. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of my top cheeses right there. Is that white
let's
cheddar?
see. Somewhere in here. Let me find it. I've got a picture of the packaging that comes in. I can show it to you. Here we
It's
go.
an English coastal cheddar.
Here we go.
Yep.
This is it. Kirkland Coastal. What
White
does it
cheddar.
say there? It says rugged, mature English cheddar. It's a 15-month aged cheese, and it's amazing, and it's very inexpensive. And I'm actually lying to you, telling that's a 2 pound block. Those blocks vary in their weight, and I think each of the 4 blocks I had were at 1.8 pounds. They were all just a little shy of 2 pounds, but that's what the packaging looks like. If you're a Costco member, buy that. And if you like a cheddar that's even funkier, they've got another variety of this that I can't remember what it's called. And I bought it. And I like it. Tanya didn't care for it as much, but try both of them. And yeah,
Really good. It's good. with everything.
Costco eats Sam's Club's lunch on cheese. Sam's Club does not have these cheeses. And Kirkland's a Costco house brand, so anytime you see that, you know it's exclusive to Costco. And
Mhm.
I don't have a Costco in my neighborhood. We have to drive an hour to get to one, but we maintain a membership at one because we shop there frequently.
Mhm.
No Chris. Kirkland is Costco brand. Sam's Club is Members Mark, and Walmart's house brand is Great Value. And that's another. You see some Great Value cheese here. This some of this other cheese I smoked is Walmart house cheese, and I don't spend a lot of money on cheese that I'm going to smoke, and the reason I don't is because I don't think you really have to have an expensive cheese to get an incredibly good result on smoked cheese. And I may eat those words later. So, yeah, Hank, glad you could make it with us tonight. I'm gonna be experimenting with some other cheeses. This coastal cheddar is incredible. But
It's really
get
good.
your cold smoking figured out. You know, if you don't do it in a Kamado grill, if you can get a big huge cardboard box and set if you can get a small table of some sort that you can get a box that's big enough to fit over it, set a couple of racks on that table, set your cheese on it, cut a big hole in the top of the cardboard box, cut a couple of air intakes in the bottom of the cardboard box, and set your maze or set your tube in there, and it'll do fine. It'll not get hot enough that your cheese will sweat. And that cardboard box will give up the heat. There's no thermal mass there to absorb that heat and let it get hot. So, y'all are quiet now.
Well, I'm just thinking. So,
You got she's
Tanya's
trying to tell you. I think
Tanya's
she's
been
telling
in.
you she's empty on cheese.
Hey, if she's empty, it's her problem because she's got all of those. I gave her 4 Ziploc bags full of those. I didn't. Okay.
That was a teaser, John. She needs more.
No, I tasted these things. I had 4 or 5 cheez-its, and they're not keto friendly. That's why I only had 4 or 5 of them. I tasted them yesterday just to know where we were, and yeah, I'm real happy with what I got out of that. We'll try it again. Another thing, talking about Worcestershire sauce, I meant to talk about this earlier. This is a new sauce that they have that Atlanta Grill Company's carrying. It's called W sauce. This is Bear and Burton's W sauce. It's called America's Worcestershire. I bought this, and I actually set a spoon out here. I was going to do a taste test on this tonight, but I haven't gotten to that, and we've run long, so I'm not going to do it. That's a new product that Atlanta Grill Company's carrying that I bought, and it's a different looking Worcestershire sauce. It's cloudy. It's not clear like a typical Worcestershire sauce, and I can't wait to taste that. So
It
since
looks like it's a little thicker than a Worcestershire sauce. Also.
it is. It's a thicker sauce for sure. Chris, I don't have any websites, books, or resources, but I'm using an app called Carb Manager. That's beautiful. It helps you, man. You just have to use that to log what you're eating, and it's got a huge database. It knows about everything, so it's real easy to log what you're eating, and it'll tell you what the carb a level on whatever you're logging is. It'll tell you. It'll say keto friendly. It'll say limit, which means it's borderline, or it'll say avoid. So you can tell it what you're getting ready to eat, and it'll tell you whether or not you should eat that if you're on keto. So,
yeah. And Chris,
carb
just
manager.
to tell you, if you're thinking about a keto diet, do a test first on a keto diet. That's my opinion. Go out and put yourself together your recipes and say, okay, I like this one, I don't like that one, and that way, when you decide to go full into keto, you got a repertoire there that you can plan your menu around, rather than going, okay, I'm going to try this, and then you go, oh man, I don't like that. Now
well, also my best advice,
else.
if you want to start a keto diet, I think the best advice I might be able to give is to ease into it. Don't try to go from non-keto to keto in one day. Now, that being said, that's exactly what I did. When I decided I was going to start keto, I went keto cold turkey, and it was not easy. It was very not easy.
Well, you had more problems with it than I did.
Well, the first 7 to 10 days, I had cravings, and I will admit it's gonna take what's the word I'm looking for here? Commitment.
Yeah,
it's a commitment. You have to commit to it. But the Carb Manager program gives you some options when you're setting up your profile. You tell it what you want to do. And if you want to ease into a keto diet, tell Carb Manager that you want to do a low carb diet rather than a keto diet. And what it's going to do is help you. You can step down in carb levels until you get to keto. A keto diet is for me and my body habits and whatnot, the information I gave it and my goals for losing weight want me to be at 27 grams of carbs a day or less. And let me give you a rough idea of what that means. A Reese's cup, a 2-pack of Reese's cups has more carbs in it than I'm allowed to have in one day. So that keto is the extreme end of low carb dieting. It is. I really think most people can be successful on a weight loss diet without going keto, but going low carb instead, because, well, I'm not, I take that back. I'm not going to say that. I don't know because I haven't tried it, but
everybody's different. Everybody's body's different. I mean, you have to find the diet that works for you. The keto's been working great for me and you. But like I said, when you started doing it back in November,
Jeff's doing keto. Yeah, Jeff, you're doing keto more so for
I'm doing it for my A1C mainly.
Yeah, you don't need to lose weight like I do. You're not overweight like I am.
Lose some, but no, I don't need to lose it like you do. I'm more interested in my A1C because that's been creeping up since COVID, and I'm not going down that rabbit hole.
I had a physical earlier this week, and I was really stoked my A1C came back at 5.4, and that's right where it ought to be. My blood pressure is up a little, and I discussed that with my doctor, and I showed my doctor the readings that I had and my average over the last 7 days or whatever, because I take my blood pressure every day now. And she said, "You're not to a point yet where you need to be on medication." And plus, I explained to her my exercise. I'm on a regular exercise program now. She says, if your blood pressure does not fall over the next month or so a little bit, then call me back, and then we'll talk about whether or not you need to be on a medication. But I was very happy. I'm 53 years old, getting ready to turn 54 in March, and I do not take any medications. I do not take any long-term medications of any kind. I'm not on blood pressure medication. I'm not on blood thinners. I'm not taking aspirin every day. I'm I'm truly weird in that aspect, because a lot of people that are my age are taking some kind of medication, and uh, I feel fortunate that I'm not, and I'm hoping to keep it that way for as long as I can. Alan's
It
asking
hit me
about
at
pork chops.
55, John. 55
Yeah,
was blood pressure medicine and cholesterol medicine.
yeah, we'll see. But my cholesterol's right where it ought to be, so I'm not worried about what I'm eating at this point. The my I don't remember what my cholesterol numbers were, but every
They were
every
good.
every one of my numbers was in the range it's supposed to be in. I was not low or high on any of that. Uh, but I wanted to see where my A1C was, because the last time a year ago when I had a physical, my A1C was at 5.7, which is at the very bottom end of what they consider to be pre-diabetic.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the range was, but 5.7 was at the top end of normal, the low end of pre-diabetic. And she told me at that point, she says, you need to cut your carbs, and that's what I did. Bone-in pork chops, or 2-inch thick pork chops, bone-in porterhouse style at Costco. How would you cook them? Jeff, how would you treat those guys?
I would take and sear them puppies and bring
Sear
them
them
to
and then
one.
what?
Bring them to about 135. Take them off and
Okay.
rest them.
Alan, I've got a video out there. If you'll go look in the Atlanta Grill Company YouTube channel, look for molasses my molasses brine
Yeah.
pork chops. It's one of the early videos I did for Atlanta Grill Company. You want to brine you want to try that. And also, I don't want to knock the porterhouse style pork chops, but I am a bigger fan of the ribeye style pork chops.
Yeah.
I like, if you want a bone in pork chop, I want you to try those instead. They're amazing. I really like them better than the porterhouse style. So my molasses.
Get that
My,
pork roast from Costco.
oh yeah, but
That's off the hook.
my cinnamon and molasses brine.
That
Uh,
would be good on that.
oh man, brine. Let those guys make that brine. Give your pork chops at least 12 hours in that, and then grill them. I would sear them. Uh, and then finish them over indirect heat. I'm going to tell you what I like. I like to have my pork chop off the grill by the time it hits 135 degrees internal.
Yep.
I like for my pork chop to finish at around 140 to 142. And the reason that's a target for me is because Tanya and her family, if there's any pink showing of any kind in that pork chop, they don't like it. And I found that the sweet spot for the pink is at about 141, 142. If you let it get to that, the pink will all be gone, and that pork chop will be as juicy and tender as you can imagine. It will be the best pork chop you've ever had. If you cook
But I
your
don't do
pork
that with my
chop,
tenderloins.
if you cook your pork chop to 165,
No.
don't.
Take your shoe off. Take your shoe off and eat it.
Oh boy, man, I love pork chops though, and Tanya likes pork chops too, and I've got it figured out how I cook. I'm always getting the pork chops. Tanya loves my cinnamon molasses, right?
I do. That's one of my favorite ways that you do pork chops.
And the last time I made those for her mom and dad came for dinner one night. I don't remember when it was. I decided I'm gonna give them pork chops, and I cooked these. And Tanya's dad told me that was the best pork chop he had ever had.
Yeah.
So, and you can do this same thing with if you want to get your bone in pork chop, you can do it with a boneless pork chop. You can even buy a pork loin and
Cut
make
it down.
like 2-inch slices off your pork loin and do it with that. It works great. You can do a pork tenderloin that way. Marinate that pork tenderloin in that same cinnamon molasses brine, and I guarantee you, you'll never think again about how you want to do it.
Okay, John, what's your ideal thickness for pork chops?
The same as
Let's
steaks,
see if
man. You can't start talking about it till it's at least 1.5 inches thick. And if
Yep.
you can give me 2 inches, I'm even happier.
Yep.
The,
These people who buy these paper thin pork chops, and time you cook it, I mean, they throw it up against the wall.
it's hard to cook one of those to where I like it. The thinner ones. I like them thick. I would rather, the reason I like pork loin is because a 2-inch thick piece of pork loin is a good serving. It's a good hefty meal. It's a filling meal. That's still a lot. Even I don't know, with pork loin, 1.5 inches is fine. But man, I've grown to love pork chops since I've learned how to cook them properly. I've been fed pork loin all my life. My grandmother, when we would have Sunday lunches or holiday meals at my grandmother's when I was young, it was a pork roast. And back then, a pork roast was a pork loin that had been roasted in the oven in a roasting pan until it was 165 or better. I don't think they ever took an internal temperature of that meat. They knew how long they wanted to cook it, and that's how long
it was
they did.
white when it came out.
It was, and it was dry, But the saving grace of all that is they'd make a pan gravy.
Yeah,
There was a pan gravy to go with it, so you could re-moisturize that shoe leather with the pan gravy, and it was good, man. We didn't know any better. That was the best meal. That was great. And as I've gotten older and started cooking myself, I've learned that Thermopin or that Spark or that Javelin Duo Pro, that thermometer is your best friend in the kitchen. So,
yep.
All right,
absolutely.
Man, I'm running way long. I hate going 1.5 hours, but we'll keep getting questions. So I'll try to help with that. So that's where we're going to wrap up tonight. I appreciate everybody coming with me. We got a good crowd. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about next week yet. I need to get back. I've got a guy that I want to bring on. I've got a guy that I want to bring on, and I need to. He's been sick and he hasn't been feeling well, and I'm gonna try to reconnect with him this week, and maybe we'll get him on next week. I don't know, but I can promise you, you're gonna like him if I can get him on. He said he wants to come on, but I'll get with him this week and see if he's available. And Tanya's got Lily up there. Lily's assistant Tanya tonight. So
I put Kevin up. He interfered too much last week.
We love Kevin.
Is he the one that turned your lights out a minute ago?
No, that was my wife.
She turned the lights off.
Walked out of the kitchen, turned all the lights off, and go, okay.
All right.
Leave me in the dark.
Okay. Yeah, Jody, I've done a pork belly burn ends video also, and I right off the top of my head, I can't tell you if it was on the Kamado Joe channel or on the Atlanta Grill Company channel. It's on one or the other. I've done that. And well, last week's video was pork belly. It wasn't burn ends, but you can use that exact same technique to make pork belly burn ends, but you just need to have a skin off pork belly, and you need to cut it into cubes before you start. So look at last week's video before you decide you want to do burn ends. Try my skin on one, because that technique's crazy good.
So John, I take it you're enjoying that bark smoker?
The bark is crazy, man. I love it. like I said, it's the fifth pellet grill that I've had here. Brent, glad you can make it. It's the fifth pellet grill. I've currently got two pellet grills on the deck. I've got the Kamado Joe Pellet Joe, and I've got the Bark. And prior to that, we had the Traeger Timberline 850. Then prior to that, we had the Yoder YS 640. And prior to that, I had the Traeger Little Texas Elite, which is probably, I don't even know if Traeger still makes that one. It was the smallest and least expensive model they had. And the Bark at this point is my favorite of all of them. Like I said, I don't want to compare the Pellet Joe. The Pellet Joe
No,
is not. It's a different animal. It doesn't really even
everybody
count.
needs to quit calling the pellet Joe a pellet smoker. It's not. It's a
It's
Kamado
a
that's fueled by pellets, and leave it
yeah.
at that.
It's
It
different.
is a fantastic wing cooker.
It is. It's crazy. It's fantastic at a lot of things, but
Oh,
no, I
speaking of
haven't
which,
roasted bones. I have not.
David told me today that next week I should get that modification for the Bark to
The
get some
the
flame kiss on the meat.
the
So we'll see
the
what that
two
does.
piece heat shield.
Yeah.
I'm interested in seeing it. I'm curious. Are they sending you a pre-release version of it?
Yep. Yep.
Good. I'm interested in seeing how it works. Now, let me tell you, I do have a little bit of experience with a two-piece heat shield. The YS 640, I had one, and it works. It does. It allows you to get your grilling surface up hot enough to do some searing, and it works really well. The part I did not like about it was the cleanup afterwards, because you get uh, a good bit of dripping and fat and residue from whatever you're cooking over that in the firebox, in the fire pot. I don't know how are they. I'll have to wait and see how the Bark is handling that. Are you going to be removing the heat shield over the fire pot for this, or is it? I don't know how
That's
it's
kind
going
of
to
my
work.
understanding, but I haven't seen it, so I don't want to say it's this
Yeah,
until I see
I'm
it.
curious about it, and I know it's going to be functional. I've seen it before, or not seen it with the Bark. I've seen it with the Yoder, and I know it works. And like I said, the only thing I did not like about it was the cleanup afterwards. It does make a mess in the bottom of the grill, but I don't.
Cindy,
It wouldn't be a huge problem.
yeah, Cindy. The reason why I don't make video is because John does such a good job doing video. But if you go to the Myron Mixon Bark Smoker Facebook page, I've got a lot of pictures posted, including recipes and whatnot of the various things that I cook, which will satisfy you.
And Cindy, let me tell you, making video is tiring. It's really hard work. It changes everything about the way you're cooking. I have come to cherish the days where I'm cooking where I'm not making video because
That's why
there's no.
I just like taking pictures.
Yeah,
I can put the
I
pictures the way I
I
want
would
them when it's
I
done.
honest in all honesty, I would love to quit making video. I would love to just do picture stories, because when I go look at the metrics on the videos that I do now, uh, over in recent years, nobody's watching the videos. And if you go look at my videos, nobody's leaving comments on them. It's like people don't care about the video. And I'm really curious if anybody's actually watching them. On Facebook, the
I
Facebook
do.
videos, they get watched during the first 4 or 5 days they're out there, and then it's dead. But the Facebook watches, I'm getting a lot more views on Facebook than I am on YouTube.
Yeah.
But the trade off there is the YouTube videos continue to get watched over time. They keep getting a watch count, but the on Facebook, it's like what gets watched in the first 4 or 5 days is about all.
Yep.
It's like they don't get rewatched for whatever the reason. People don't go search for it on Facebook. They search for it on YouTube. That's why the YouTubes get watched more. But the posts that I make where I post 4 or 5 pictures and then tell the story in the comment, those posts, they get a lot of traffic. They get a lot of shares. I'm thinking that what's happening here as we move forward in social media, the attention spans are getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And I really think video is not the right solution anymore, but I keep doing it because that's what, Atlanta Grill Company wants video. People like Kamado Joe want video, but I really think the future of it's not going to be in video. So we'll see. I've made a science out of doing my videos. I'm a one-man production company. I do it. I've got a process, and I don't have lots of bells and whistles. I don't have multiple cameras, multiple camera angles, professional lighting, none of that. I'm a backyard guy telling you the story as I go, and I'm trying to make it easy. And I've never had any complaints about my methodology on video, but I really do believe that in time, the video, the attention span these days is not enough to support video.
And you're absolutely right on that, John. And what I like about your videos versus, I'm not going to name names, all the other videos out there, they're too long.
Yeah.
I don't want to listen to you, and see all your wow facial expressions and going off the wall.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up.
Show me what I need to see. Give me the recipe and show me the technique.
Well, one of the things I would like to do is, first of all, Facebook wants your videos to be at least 3 minutes long. If you don't have it 3 minutes long, they're not going to show it to anybody. What I would ultimately like to do is have my video between 3 and 3.5 minutes, because that helps with the short attention span. And I really, really, really need to focus on that. And I may try to do that this coming week. Now that you've mentioned that, I'm going to try to do that on the cowboy steak, on the tomahawk. And I tried this a while back, and it's very successful. I've been good with this, and what it takes, instead of doing it the way I normally do it, I've got an application on my PC back there that allows me to record a narration. And what needs to happen in order to keep those videos short is I need to narrate the video before I shoot any video. I need to tell the story of what the video is going to do, and then
add the video to it.
Put the video clips in. That's the best way to keep it short. But the thing about that is it takes 3 times as long to edit that video, or 4 times as long. So, Chris says overproduced videos. I don't know. My goal is not to end up on a Food Network. That's not my goal. I want to come across just like I'm coming across. I'm the guy next door who grills in his backyard all the time. That's who I am, and that's what I want you to think. I don't want you to think I'm trying to be a TV star.
Yes, Stephen summed it up very nicely here.
Yeah, no, and I'm not going to do the clickbait thumbnails. I'm not going to go, and I'm not going to title my video, "I cooked this tomahawk steak and you'll never believe what happened." That's not me. And
you're not Mr. Ronco.
Or I was cooking a tomahawk steak when my wife walked in.
Yeah, that's cute and everything, and it works. I'm not going to say it doesn't work. It makes people click on the video. It's clickbait. That's exactly what it is. But my goal is not, I don't know, maybe that's part of my problem. Maybe I don't spend enough time trying to get you to click on my video. I want people to click on my video because they say, hey, that guy knows what he's doing. He's a good cook. Most of these clickbait videos, there's a lot of clickbait videos out there that aren't so much about cooking. There's people out there that focus on the equipment. They want to talk about charcoal, or they want to talk about the grill or the accessories or whatnot. I want to talk about cooking, and it's harder to do it talking about cooking. My objective is I want somebody to watch my video and say, hey, I can do that. And I love it when I get an email or an instant message 6 months later that says, hey, I tried this and man, my family loved it.
Like I said, that's the nice thing about your videos. Your videos are for the masses. Mm-hmm. They're for the beginner. They're for the medium, the medium guy. They're for the experienced guy. Hey, I never thought about doing it that way. And
I like doing it. Sweet. I do want to get my videos shorter though. I've been looking at that, and I need to work on that. And in fact, Tanya, I had given you my snowball microphone at some point. Do you still have that upstairs?
I sure do.
I might like to either get that back, or if I need to buy another one, I will, because that's what I was using to record my audio. And when I can narrate the video and then go back and put the video clips to go with it, it makes my video a lot shorter, but I don't think it really takes away from anything. All the steps that you need to know are still there, and there's less of me rambling. And we'll work on that. We'll see what I can do. My target next week, I'm going to see if I can have a video that's less than 4 minutes. So,
Yeah, when I'm
Russell,
making
I thank you for that.
I'm always
Yeah.
looking between the 5 and 10-minute range.
Yeah.
I'll go 15, and sometimes, like if I go 20, I just go ahead and tell my students, instructor was way too heavy.
Well,
Something more.
I don't know if Michael Stevenson's still with us or not. If he is, bless his heart. uh, he's the one I was talking about earlier that was gaming me on whether I was searing that meat in the foil or not. Michael gave me a lot of great advice on videos when I first started making videos a long time ago. And one of the things he told me is your videos are too long. And that's something I took to heart when he told me that. And I worked on it, and I got them shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. But there's a fine line between quick and informative. So you've got to be able to do both. And we'll
Yep.
work on that. I would really love for all of my videos to be between 3 and 4 minutes long, because even at that, the attention span's not there. When I look at the metrics, when you go look at the YouTube metrics or the Facebook metrics, a majority of the people that have clicked on your video to watch it have watched for less than 10 seconds. So it is what it is.
Like I used to tell my boss, he used to write these long-winded emails. I said, boss, give me what you want me to know in the first 2 sentences. After that, I'm not reading.
Yeah. And I'll even write a post. When I write the blog style post for Atlanta Grill Company, I'll have people come back and what's the abbreviation? TLDNR. Too long, did not read, and that's fine. If you don't want to read what I posted, I don't have any complaint with that, but the information's there. You might remember that you saw it, and when that question comes up in your cooking, you say, hey, I remember seeing that. But those Atlanta Grill blog posts, if you search Atlanta Grill Company's Facebook page for the hashtag Atlanta Grill blog, you'll see all of these posts I've made, and all of them I'm hoping are very informative or very useful. There's enough content there almost to write a book. So Chris, you really can, if you're doing it with video, because the pictures of what you're seeing there makes up for what's not being said in words. I really do believe that 3 to 4 minutes can explain a cook in most cases. So let's see if
There
I
are
can
a few
pull that off.
exceptions to that, but for the norm, 3 to 4 minutes.
Let me see if I can pull that off with this tomahawk cook, because that's not a complicated cook. It's a reverse sear. We're going to smoke that guy up to temperature. We're going to get it off. We're going to sear it. Or first of all, we're going to season it. We're going to dry brine it. We're going to smoke it. Then we're going to sear it. But
then we're going to eat
it. And then we're going to eat it. It needs to be at least 3 minutes long for Facebook, though, because Facebook's algorithm, they tell you when you're publishing your video, it needs to be at least 3 minutes long, because that's what people want, which I'm not 100% sure of, but I do know that the videos that I've published on Facebook that are less than 3 minutes long, they don't get any views because Facebook doesn't put it in people's feeds. If it's over 3 minutes long, Facebook's going to show it to a lot more people. So 3 minutes is going to be the minimum. I'm not going to publish a Facebook video that's less than 3 minutes long. So,
John, I love this idea here. What we should do, you can have your smaller video, and then we can have a director's cut.
Okay, well,
I like that.
that's going to cost somebody a lot more money, because the time involved there is going to be off the hook. The one thing that I do cherish is my quick editing ability. My typical video that's anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes long these days, usually on the higher end of that, it takes me 20 to 30 minutes to do the video editing and to render that video file. The ones that I do where I'm talking about where I narrate it first and then put the video in, those take me an hour and a half. So there's something to think about there. And doing 2 different videos out of the same cut. The reason that won't work for me is if I do the narration first and then shoot the video, I'm not talking when I'm shooting video. All I'm doing is shooting video because I know my narration's already there. The bad thing about that is if I forget something in my narration, there's no way to go back and add it in. So I have to really think about the process, and I have to talk about it. And when I'm talking, I have to say, I need to give it enough time for me to show what I'm going to show on video to go along with it. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Watch. Be sure and watch for my video next week on the tomahawk, because I'm going to do this process of where I do my narration and then I use the video to fill it in, and we'll make it shorter and more concise. And I'll ask you guys for feedback. One other thing I'd like to ask for feedback tonight on that I forgot to do. One of our viewers, Paul Stevens, he's not incredibly happy with the 8:30 p.m. Eastern time slot. If you guys, I would like to get feedback from you guys now that we've switched to the 8:30 p.m. Eastern time slot. Is that working for you? Leave me a comment. Let me know if that's working for you, or if you think another time would be better. Paul is on the East Coast, and 8:30 is a little late for him for some reason, but I know you guys on the West Coast that are watching, that 7:30 time slot's 4:30 in the afternoon your time, and I really want to find something that works best for everybody, and I know I won't be able to make everybody happy. So let me know what works best for y'all. So if you've got any issues with 8:30, let me know. And if you would rather see 7:30, if you'd rather see 8 p.m., let me know. I will tell you now, I'm not going to go later than 8:30. I do not want to start at 9 Eastern time. Alan, I use one camera. I've got one video camera. I don't use multiple views. I'm cheap. I'm not spending a lot of money on equipment for production.
Okay,
honey. I get my money's worth. So yeah.
Do you have yacked and yacked?
I know.
We're coming up on 2 hours.
Yeah, hour and 45 minutes.
And Hemi and Meryl, they won't flake. And I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. I want to go to bed.
Okay, guys, y'all have a good week, and we'll see you next Friday. But do leave me a comment on what you think about the time slot. Do I need to change it? Are we good? What works for you? Let me know what works for you, and I'll evaluate that, and we'll figure out where to go from there. If I need to change it, I will.
Have a good birthday weekend.
Yep.
Thank you, Jeff.
Guys, we'll see you next week. Thanks a lot.